Okay, so let's take a look at number 2. Find the word punctuality in the second paragraph. Underline it. And then, what phrase in the next sentence is a clue to its meaning? So this is asking, how do you know what punctuality means based on the context clues? Okay, so if you look at the second paragraph, it says, in some countries such as the United States, England, and Canada, punctuality is an unspoken rule. So let's look at the next sentence. It is important to be on time, especially in business. So what phrase helps you to understand what punctuality means? Okay. So the phrase be on time helps you to understand what punctuality means. So punctuality means on time. Okay, and then let's look at number 3. According to the article, punctuality is an unspoken rule in the United States, England, and Canada. What examples in business and social situations does the article give to support that statement? Okay, so if you look at that same paragraph, you'll see business meetings and personal appointments often have strict beginning and end times, beginning and ending times. Okay, so let's look at number 4. When should you arrive for the following events in the U.S.? I'm not going to go over every single event, but for example, which activities do people expect you to be punctual or be on time for? Okay, so you might say you should arrive for a medical appointment on time, or you should arrive for a business meeting a few minutes early, or you should arrive at a business meeting 5 to 10 minutes early. And also you could say you should arrive at a party or reception during the stated hours, because for those events it really depends. Sometimes a party invitation states the beginning time but no ending time. So in those cases it's better to arrive on time. And then the same goes for a reception, especially depending on the type of reception. For example, if a wedding reception starts at 7 p.m., you don't want to come at 7:30. That's a little too late. So you might want to show up a little earlier actually. Okay, let's take a look at number 5. Some theaters do not allow people to enter after the event has started. In your opinion, what is the reason? Okay, so you might say, if you arrive late, you might disturb other guests. You could also include more specific reasons, like you might disturb other guests when you are finding your seat, or when you're using a light, or you might block the view. Okay, number 6. Manolo's Filipino family expects him to meet them when they arrive at the train station. The train arrives at the same time as his English class. What do you think he will do? Why? Alright, so I will give you some time to write a sentence. So you need to use the word because it asks you why. Okay, so this is your opinion, so you might say, Manolo will go to the train station because many Filipinos believe that relationships with people are more important than keeping a schedule, as the article states. Okay, or maybe you think that he will go to his English class because he he's in the United States where people believe that keeping a schedule is very important. It's your opinion, so as long as you can give a good reason, then there's no wrong answer. Okay, so exercise B, build your vocabulary. Let's look at number 1. English has several prefixes that mean not. So we already looked at one. Un is one of those prefixes. And another one is dis, and then ear, and im. They all mean not. So I'm going to write this here. All right, so let's find some words from the reading, from the article, that include these prefixes. For example, the first one, un, we can see unspoken, which means not spoken, as we mentioned before. Okay, so I'll give you some time to go back to the article and find words that start with these prefixes. If you find more than one, great. In fact, you can include them on the chart in exercise 3. You can also include other words that are not in the article and write them in the chart. Okay, so from the article, we find words like disorganized, irresponsible, and impolite. But you might have found some other words like uncommon, dishonest, and there are also some verbs like dislike, disappear, disagree. Okay, and also for ear, irregular, irrational, and impossible, immortal, impatient. Okay, so we're going to skip exercise 3, but of course you can practice that with someone in your family on your own. Okay, so now I'm going to play an audio clip from your workbook, but I don't want you to open your workbook. So just like last time, I just want you to listen and take notes, and then I'm going to ask you some questions.
Page 72, Exercise 1.
Personal rules about time. Everyone has his or her own personal rules about time. These rules depend on the personality of the person, as well as on the culture of the country. Some individuals, no matter where they are from, have very strict rules about time. They like to keep a schedule. They are always early for meetings. When they catch a train, they arrive at the station 30 minutes before the train leaves. When they go to a party, they are often the first guests to arrive. It is sometimes difficult for these people to understand why their coworkers and friends cannot be on time. They get angry when their friends are late. Other people are not very strict about time, even in places like the United States, Canada, and England, where punctuality is generally considered to be very important. They don't think keeping a schedule is the most important thing. For example, they are sometimes late for work. They often miss trains and buses, and they arrive at a party 1 or 2 hours after the party has started. They don't understand why other people get upset when they are late. On the other hand, these people do not get impatient when their friends are late.
Okay, so number 1, what do rules about time depend on? What do rules about time depend on? So in the listening, you heard 2 things that rules about time depend on. So go ahead and make a sentence. Okay, so rules about time depend on the personality of the person and the culture of the country. Okay, number 2. What does it mean when people are strict about time? What does it mean when people are strict about time? Okay, so we can say they like to keep a schedule. Okay, and then number 3, what does the word punctuality mean? So we already did this in our students book, but go ahead and write a sentence. What does the word punctuality mean? Okay, punctuality means being on time. It means being on time. All right, so now I want you to go ahead and open up your workbook to page 72. Workbook page 72. Okay, so you'll see 4 statements and questions, and we're going to look at them together. And go ahead and take time to answer them as we go. So number 1. This article talks about 2 different ways of thinking about time. And this one, the answer is already there. So you can say one way is being strict about time, or we could say keeping a schedule. Another way to think about time is not being strict about time. Or if you remember from our students book, we could also say relationships with people are more important than being on time. Okay, number 2. When people are strict about time, they, letter A, keep a schedule. So this is also the same question I asked you after the listening. Okay, number 3. What does the word punctuality mean? And this is also another question I asked you. So you can make a sentence. Punctuality means being on time. And number 4, according to the article, people should letter D, understand different rules about time. Okay, so we are going to move on to page 73, exercise 2. Complete the sentences. Okay, so let's look at the first one. In Canada, it is impolite to arrive at a dinner party more than 10 minutes late. All right, so I'm going to give you some time to complete numbers 2 through 5. Okay, so number 2, people who are strict about time get impatient when their friends are late. Impatient. Number 3, in England, punctuality is an unspoken rule. People expect you to be on time without telling you. Number 4, it is irresponsible to be late for a job interview in the United States. Irresponsible. And number 5, in Brazil, it is not uncommon for guests to arrive 2 hours after a social event begins. Okay, so exercise 3, rewrite the sentences. Write the bold words with the prefixes un, dis, ir, or im. Okay, so this is pretty easy, so we're going to do this together. Number 1, it is not common to miss a plane. Okay, so not common, as we can see here, is the same as uncommon. So we can say it is uncommon to miss a plane. Number 2, it is not polite to be late. Okay, so we can say it is impolite to be late. Number 3, it is not usual to be early for a party. Okay, so we can say it is unusual to be early for a party. Number 4, he is not patient. He is impatient. Number 5, they are not responsible. They are irresponsible. And number 6, she is not organized. She is disorganized. All right, and finally, exercise 4, write the opposites. This is also pretty easy, so we are going to go ahead and do this together. So unlucky, that means not lucky, so the opposite is lucky. Number 2, impossible. The opposite of impossible is possible. Okay, number 3, the opposite of dishonest is honest. Okay, number 4, the opposite of unfriendly is friendly. Number 5, the opposite of unkind is kind. And number 6, the opposite of irrational is rational. All right. Okay, so for homework, I want you to look at your student's book on page 151. 151. So that's in the back of your student's book. You'll see an article called Time Rules Can Be Confusing. I want you to do pages 151 through 153 for homework, but you can just email me those 5 answers to these questions. Okay, that's the end of our lesson, and I will see you next time.